Welcome to Trickle Up. I'm Boyce, and joining me tonight in studio is Mia. What do you got on the low tonight for us, Mia?
Tonight we're going to be discussing Biden's inauguration and his 17 executive orders.
This should be a fun one for us, honestly. So there's a couple things that are going to stand out on this thing. I'm going to bring up this article that's from the Tennessean, pretty fun name, and it lists all 17 executive orders, executive actions written today, just after he was signed in. So instead of going through the article word for word, I'm just going to kind of do the bullet points. So the first one was launching 100 days masking challenge, federal grounds mask mandate. So on federal grounds only, you have to wear a mask mandate. And of course they have here Trump reversal. No, because Trump never did anything with this at all. And that's just on federal grounds only. So if you work for the government, you're going to have to mask up. And that's pretty straightforward. And then resuming engagement with the World Health Organization. Of course, that's a reversal of Trump, of course. And that's pretty cut and dry. And hopefully Fauci keeps his job and he's worked with a lot of different campaigns in the past, both sides of the aisle, because he's an expert. Well, here it has creating a COVID-19 response coordinator position. So I like this. It's putting someone in charge, not just telling the VP, you take it. I don't feel like talking about it, So someone's going to be in charge of actually coordinating the vaccines, the testing, and hopefully contact tracing is probably too late for that shit now, honestly.
Somebody in charge of making sure that the right hand and the left hand actually talk to each other.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. I just heard that there are doses of the vaccine that are actually, fruit dying on the vine, if you will, where they're actually not, they're just going bad. And we're wasting tests that we desperately need. So this will be good, hopefully, to help get a federal leadership position to help the states figure out how to get these things out properly without losing the doses, for crying out loud.
Yeah, and we need this rollout to go smoothly because we need to get the vaccinations and herd immunity fast so that we don't pressure the virus into evolving faster into something that is immune to our vaccines.
Well, and I think it'd be a good idea to send them to the hot spots more than anywhere else. Like why send them to a place that's not overwhelmed yet? Send them to places like New York and LA and what's the other states? Indiana, and I think it's Arizona. All the places have hot spots right now. Colorado and Florida have the new strain too, so we don't know what that's going to be like. The next one is extending the eviction and foreclosure moratorium, and this says Trump reversal. Of course not. And so it says right here that he's going to extend it until at least March 31st. So it gives us at least a 3-month window to say, okay, no one's paying rent or whatever, and nobody can be foreclosed or evicted in the next 3 months, which is better than month-to-month worrying.
This is federal only again, obviously.
But yeah, this is saying that you can't get kicked out of your home. So, and foreclose on your home. Extending a pause on student loans. So yeah, student loan forgiveness payments right now. And that's until at least September 30th. So that'll give us that have student loan debt a sigh of relief for the rest of the year, at least a good portion of the year, at least for another 8 months. So that's a good one too. Of course, Trump. No, that wasn't his executive order. Okay, this was an easy one. Rejoining the Paris Agreement. That's an automatic reversal of Trump's BS. And I think that's pretty obvious that's a very, very important one.
It's a big must.
Yes.
We need that to be held credible on any sort of global level.
And we have to become leaders again. Just got to become leaders. And then we got revoking the Keystone XL pipeline permit plus other environmental actions. This is a reversal of Trump's executive orders. Absolutely. You can't let this keep going while you're trying to do something up here in the Paris Agreement, And I know this is going to piss off our neighbors up north, but
this is also one of those orders that I don't think Biden needed to do today. I don't think anybody was sitting there going, on his first day, if Biden doesn't reverse the XL pipeline, we're going to call him a hypocrite or whatnot. This is something that could have waited, and he didn't let it wait. And I'm actually really happy about that.
Yep.
That's a good sign going in.
Well, that just tells you the environment's important to him, which I'm happy about because, and plus, don't forget the Secretary of Interior is the first Native American senator or congresswoman out of Arizona, I believe it was. What's her name? I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But yeah, that's a huge thing. I think that's a big signal of things to come that he has her in charge as Secretary of Interior, and he's saying we're out of this business. We're not going to do this. So that's a good start for an environment. Well, the next policy is rescinding Trump's 1776 commission and plus advancing racial equality for all. What a trip this is. So you mentioned you read an article about this, about their statement on MLK Day, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of dog whistles in the original statement they put up. It has all been taken down by the Biden administration as of this time. If you try to go to the page where it was originally posted, it's a 404. There was just some incredible revisionist history going on in there. And overall, a attack on everything from race to feminism to any progress we've made in the past, 100, 300 years, all of it put down. It's
Yeah.
a very, very good thing that this is no longer a priority for our schools and never will be.
And we cannot enforce, what do you call it? You cannot legislate patriotism. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. That's fascism. Okay, the next one is including non-citizens and consensus apportionment for congressional representatives. Trump reversal, of course. So now we'll actually count people in the census that are non-citizens. They matter. They count. And that also goes for representation. So that'll affect, I guess, the districts a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely affect that. It also has a lot to do with, I think, state budgets for certain things, and division of resources.
Yeah.
So it's really important to know who's actually living where. It doesn't matter whether they are here legally or illegally or whatever you want to call it. They're human beings.
Well, and that includes people that are here on like work visas and student visas and stuff like that. They should all be included because they need resources while they're here as well. And so this kind of sets up the next one is preserving and fortifying the DACA program. This protects the kids that were brought here by their parents illegally, and they have nothing to do with it. Their home country is not their home. They don't know the native language sometimes. I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes they don't know normal customs. You send them back to Honduras or some crap like that. They don't know the customs and the culture and any of that stuff. They're Americans. So this is the right thing to do in my book.
Well, if somebody had sent my dad back to Italy after my grandparents came there, he would not have a very easy time reacclimating to that.
It's the humane thing to do. This is America, the land of opportunity, and you can't just deport people because their parents brought them here against their will. They weren't a conscious participant. So the next one is the ending the Muslim ban. Of course, this is a reversal on Trump. Primarily, Muslim and African countries. The brown people, we don't want you from your shithole countries, to quote Trump, So this is an obvious one, simple. So the next one is setting civil immigration enforcement policies. Trump reversal, of course. So this is the Homeland Security stuff, and it says here harsh and extreme immigrant enforcement. It's ICE needs to be put in check a little bit. They're actually infringing on people's rights to arrest them or whatever, question them, take them away, and they deported people that served in the military. Like what? I don't get it. So I like this policy on immigration. Mm-hmm.
I agree. I'm actually one of those people who actually thinks we should abolish ICE. It was not, it's not some longstanding institution like a lot of other things. It was created relatively recently in American history, and it was never used properly for what its intended purpose was in the first place. Mm-hmm. Get rid of it. Build something better and new that's meant to regulate things in a proper manner and doesn't have terrible history attached to it. That's my opinion.
What I'd like to see him add to this executive order is proper funding for the border courts, for immigration court, because you have the catch and release where they catch you riding dirty with no papers, and okay, here's your court order, and you're back out, but you're waiting for 2 or 3 years, not knowing if you're going to be deported or not and get asylum or whatever, So there's a lot of things that go along with this, of course, but this is a good start,
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, terminating border wall construction. I think this is just a virtue signaling one because it doesn't really mean anything. Because not like they've built a lot of new fencing. They had to repair old fencing, which is still going to need to be done. That's got to be funded. But this is kind of a weird virtue signal one to me personally.
Well, it never really got off the ground in the first place. The spots that were put up were shoddy work. So it is kind of symbolic, but it was a big symbol of Trump's movement too, in a lot of ways, the whole build the wall thing. So no longer having that be a rallying cry of the people and making a statement about it does make sense to that level.
Yeah. But it just seems like this can go without being said type of thing. But I understand it was an executive order. He's trying to reverse everything he did. So the next one is extending deferred enforcement departure for Liberians. Let me see. I don't know much about that one. Liberian Relief and Fairness Act. I really don't understand what that one is personally. If you guys know about this, put a comment in the comment section. I just don't know about this one. So it says it extends the deferred enforcement departure designation for Liberians in the U.S. until June 30th, 2022. Yeah, do you know anything about this Liberia thing?
I don't know enough about it to make a good comment. It sounds like they're doing a bit of refugee thing, but I could not, without further research, really tell you what's going on in Liberia.
Well, and the next one is prohibiting workplace discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity. This one seems obvious. So it looks like it's going to be building on Bostock versus Clayton County. So it's going to help the LGBT community have legal standing to challenge their employer or lack of employment opportunities based upon their sexual orientation or gender identity. This seems to be so obvious that how is it not already happening? Of course, Trump didn't put a thing on this, but he did in a he didn't write an executive order about this, but he did ban transgenders from the military. So I think this should apply to that.
I'm actually surprised now that you mentioned that that's not on this list.
I think that's part of it. But the military one can be tougher because that requires people that were kicked out now coming back in. So that might take a whole lot more work behind the scenes. It'll take them the first 100 days to really get a plan in action to reacclimate people and have new regulations and standards for people going through a gender reassignment surgeries or whatever, or medications for their hormone replacement therapies and stuff like that. So that might be a little more lengthy. This might be just a kind of a sweeping statement more than anything, and then say, okay, now you can build upon that. So the next one's ordering appointees to sign ethics pledge. I don't understand what this even means. Let's read it. Trump will sign oh God, damn it, boys. Biden will sign an executive order that requires all appointees in the executive branch to sign an ethics pledge with the goal of restoring and maintaining public trust in the government. This is just pure bullshit.
It absolutely is bullshit. There are ways you could go about this and actually have it not be bullshit. None of that is signing a piece of paper that just says, yes, I plan on doing my best. That is the kind of stuff they do in school handbooks for students.
Right. Mm-hmm. This is like, I really, really promise this time. Let's raise your right hand again. Put your hand on the Bible. Like, come on, man. This is just pure bullshit. It could have been 16.
If they wanted to be serious about that, things they could add to it are like require regular psychological evaluation and testing, empathy courses to make sure that the people in Congress, are capable of understanding the people they're representing. That kind of thing would have been actual useful stuff to have in that kind of order. But just having somebody sign something saying, I intend to do good is useless and
It's so silly.
Virtue signaling.
It's so silly. Just pure bullshit. And then, of course, the last one, improving and modernizing regulatory review. Apparently, Trump signed an executive order to not modernize. I don't understand it. So it says Biden will issue a presidential memorandum revoking the needless obstacles set forth by the Trump administration's regulatory process. Biden's action will direct the director of Office of Management and Budget to develop and improve regulatory review. Pure bullshit here too. What's that even mean? Whatever Trump did, he just wants to reverse it, which is just a waste of paper as far as I'm concerned. Now we're down to 15. Like, the first 15 kind of made sense. These last two, pure bullshit.
I would like to look into this one a little bit further just to see if there is any like extra paperwork that through in the way of getting certain sorts of things that I can see him maybe trying to add extra obstructions into trying to get simple things passed just to be,
Yeah. Well, and let me rephrase myself too. The way it's written up in this article sounds like pure bullshit. We don't know enough about it. Of course, this isn't the whole thing. So yeah, I need to very carefully choose my words. But it sounds like bullshit. Let's put it that way.
It does bullshit. I suspect bullshit as well, but I want to be sure it's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, so we have 17 executive orders. It sounds like 15 of them were okay. 2 of them sound kind of silly. But that's the first move, and he's got 100 days. And so something I'm kind of committed to myself to is I'm going to hold my harsher critiques for now, as far as I'm going to assume all these things he's doing, I'm going to take them as good faith acts. I'm going to assume he has good intent. And until he gives me a reason to think he doesn't have good intent, then I'm going to gut him like a fish, just like I would Trump. So right now, that's how I'm going to move forward personally. I can't recommend anybody else what to do, but I'm going to hold my harsher critiques and be not quite as picky, I guess you'd say, or skeptical of every little move, because Trump kind of gave us that framing that even if it sounded right, you're like, what's in it for him, kind of, because everything had a play for him. But yeah, and so that was one hell of a day today, and I honestly thought there'd be a little more of a ruckus on the border, if you will, of the city, but I don't. Have you heard anything, Mia?
It has been so quiet as far as I can tell.
Crickets.
I thought for sure we were going to see at least something, but
well, I think those couple hundred of arrests slowed people's enthusiasm to storm the Capitol.
Really foolish. They are so prepared now. Mm-hmm. And my husband's been going around on the boards pointing out to the ones that are still resistant. Just because you were able to break into the Capitol doesn't mean that you are going to be able to repeat that. Everything was set up for them to be able to succeed, and they still failed.
Yeah.
They didn't even get one senator out of all that, with security buttons ripped out, with Capitol Police distracted with 2 pipe bombs in 2 different locations, with the National Guard being told to stand down until hours later. They still were incapable of causing any actual harm to their intended targets. So
well, and this faction are the most feverishly cultish ones, with the time and resources and the lack of wherewithal to actually try. And so now all those people who coordinate this shit are under arrest. So I think you cut off the head of the snake, it kind of lets it just die out. It's kind of what I hope happens here with this. And now you got the Trump supporters, the MAGA, are blaming QAnon, and QAnon is like, screw these Trump supporters. They really don't believe in QAnon. Of Trump supporters, like, of course not. You guys are crazy, So I think there's gonna be like a Kyle Kalinske said today on his secular talk. He said there's gonna be a civil war, but it's just gonna be in the Republican Party.
Oh man, there are some QAnon supporters who apparently think now that Biden has inherited Trump's mission. Somehow or other, they jumped parties, and now Biden is the Messiah because he was elected president. Q wouldn't have allowed anything else to happen, or Trump wouldn't have. I don't know. Whatever hoops
Yeah.
you gotta jump through to make that work in your brain, go ahead and do it.
I think the trickle up, we need to mint our own medals called the mental gymnastics gold medals, and we need to start handing those babies out.
Oh, I love that idea. We should
The
definitely
trickle
have
ups.
a special segment called mental gymnastics.
That's right. We're going to do that, guys. I promise you. We're going to start having like an Olympic highlight reel of dumbassery, to use a George Bush word, a Bushism. But yeah, there are a lot of people doing some mental gymnastics, and they're pulling off some really nice moves to somehow make sense of the failure. It's like doomsday people that are Armageddon types that like, okay, I predict the world is going to end on December 21st, 2020, or was it December 21st, 2012 was the end of the Mayan calendar. Oh, that's it. The world's going to end. All the planets are going to be aligned. Our North and South Pole are going to reverse. Oh, that didn't work out. Well, I think we read it wrong. No shit. No shit. And so we have some of those types that are kind of doing, again, the mental gymnastics to, they need some more confirmation bias sources to help them make sense of it.
A lot of the security experts, though, are saying that with the heightened security, it's quite possible we wouldn't see anything happening. What we need to be on the lookout for is small, basically terror cells.
Well, they're sleeper cells. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest, they are terror cells of people unwilling to accept the results as they are, even past the point of no return, like we've already entered, and want to try and enforce their will on others. But we are not going to see a civil war. The time for that possibility has fortunately sunset, as far as I can tell at the moment.
Yeah. Well, and they, you cut off the head of the snake. They're just flailing around. So, and they're probably going to go back into their little dark corners and bitch and moan on somebody's website and not on Facebook and Twitter. So get banned. But yeah, I'd like to hear what you guys think about this in the comments section. Let us know if you feel like some of these are bullshit, or if you think the ones that I said are bullshit, have more context for it. Please put it in the comment section. Drop a link in there if you guys want. We could cover it more in depth. And what we're going to try and keep you guys abreast of what's going on as far as more executive orders and other types of positioning that Biden does as we goes along in his first 100 days. But yeah, so just make sure you guys go check out Mia over at the Yang Gang Report. Where can they find you guys?
Yang Gang Roundtable has a website. I actually don't have the website on me available. And you can always contact me at Mia Songbird on Twitter. And last but not least, you can see me on Tuesdays and Fridays at Humanity Hangs with Humanity Forward.
What time? What time are the hangs?
The Tuesday one, it starts at 7, and the Friday one starts at 8.
So guys, make sure you go check those out, man. The Humanity Hangs are really fun. Mia does some artwork every time, which is pretty cool. And so our links will be in the description box. Go check it out, and make sure you guys subscribe to the Trickle Up and ring notification bells, because we need to get this sucker over 1,000 subscribers so we can start making this thing work for us. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more news, of course. And the Low's going to keep bringing it. All right, guys. Gang, gang.